Hey, welcome to Rainnail Studio. My name is Rebecca, and today we are doing a full prep and acrylic application. So the first thing I always do is push back the client's cuticles. That way we can expose the natural nail and start our prep. I always start with a sanding band at a low speed, and it's going to be a fine sanding band just to avoid injuring the client or causing any discomfort. And on this step, I'm just mainly removing the shine from the natural nails and any cuticle that I can get to with this particular e-file bit. Now, it's really important that you have a dust collector, something to pull that dust down, because whatever is on the client's nails will go into the air. So you want to make sure that you have something that is going to pull any dust down from any nail set that you are doing. I just want to note that in between every step, you want to dust off the nails. That way you can see what you're working with. So I always go in with a manicure brush. I did used to use a dust brush, but the one that I used was only collecting the dust. It wasn't actually removing anything. So I make sure I clean everything off. That way I can see what else needs to be taken care of. And then I will apply the nail tips. And the reason why I remove the dust is because I don't want anything to get in between the glue and the nail tip that I will be using. This particular client, she doesn't need a lot of cuticle work, so I'm actually going to complete that step once we have our tips applied. My advice for applying tips is to make sure that the nail tip covers the entirety of the natural nail from sidewall to sidewall. And you want to make sure that you are not covering up too much of the natural nail. You really want to put it just where the free edge is. And the reason being is because you want most of your enhancement to adhere to the natural nail. So if you have too much of the natural nail covered with that plastic tip, lifting will be a big issue, including breaking of the nail. I highly recommend using a quick drying nail glue when applying tips. You want to make sure that you're not using too much glue because you want to ensure that the glue is drying evenly and completely under that nail tip, just to avoid lifting and any moisture getting trapped underneath the nail. Today we are doing a short coffin set, and this is how I measure my nails. As I've gotten further into my nail career, I have realized that I do need to charge per the length, and then any designs would be add-ons. Now you can purchase other things like the little nail clipper with the magnets. You can order pre-sized tips, but this is just easiest for me because I don't have to keep up with ordering, certain supplies. And then I do not like nail tip cutters. So this is what works for me, and I'm able to charge accordingly. And then once we get the correct sizing, I will go ahead and trim the corners in order to achieve the, more tapered or coffin look. Let's get into shaping. I always leave it up to my client on whether they want a sharp shape or if they want more of a soft shape, meaning, rounded corners or, just not as sharp, to say the least. But basically when I am shaping just the tips, I always use my 180 side because I do not want to be too aggressive on the nail tips. All I'm trying to do is create a clean and even foundation to apply my acrylic. Once the acrylic is applied, I will go in with a lower grit, which is the 100 side, more of an aggressive grit to give it more of a sharp and straight look. When you are filing and shaping your tips, you want to make sure you are moving at a 90-degree angle. That means flat up against the nail tip, just to avoid uneven sides or more of like rounded or curved edges. So just make sure that you are filing it at a 90-degree angle. And if you need to get underneath the edge of the nail, just make sure that you are doing it as straight as possible and not applying too much pressure because you do not want to cut your client with your file. Another thing I like to do during prep is to blend the tip. I am only filing the plastic tip using my sanding band at a very low speed to avoid any discomfort for the client due to the friction of the sanding band. And I do this step just to give it more of like a flush look. That way I don't have to work so hard in building the structure of the nail. I want to start with a flat foundation to achieve a smooth acrylic application. Now, prior to the cuticle trim, I will go in with this tapered carbide bit, and I am just going to go ahead and shave away any dead cuticle that is still on the nail plate, and of course clean out the sidewalls. This client didn't have a lot of cuticle or dead skin that needed to be removed, just needed to be cleaned up and nipped away. Remember to dust off the nails with your manicure brush to see what needs to be done. So here you can see I was easily able to nip away the dead skin or lifted cuticle. The key to trimming cuticles is to make sure you are not pulling at the skin. You want to make sure that you are only nipping, because if you pull at the skin, you can open up your client's eponychium, or pulling a hangnail that will cause an injury, and then you will have to stop your service. So just make sure you're clipping. Always make sure that your nippers are sharp. There are ways to sharpen them, but you can also invest in a good set so that you're not always having to replace them. The final step prior to acrylic application during prep is going to be smoothing everything over with this ceramic cuticle ball bit. I do this step when I'm not able to trim all of the dead skin, either because I couldn't get to it or I didn't want to cause any more discomfort for the client just getting too close to the live skin. And this bit is pretty gentle, so I'm just using it to smooth over just to make sure that my acrylic will lay flat on the clean natural nail plate. Once I have cleansed the nails with a no-lint wipe and my Young Nails cleanser, I will go ahead and add the protein bond. I do not use a dehydrator as I feel that the swipe cleanser dehydrates the nail pretty well. And then when I use the 2 coats of protein bond, I feel like it gives the acrylic a really good base for adhesion. As I always say with acrylic application, there is no right or wrong way to do this step. You just want to make sure that you are not touching the skin and that you are using quality products. I use Young Nails acrylic liquid and their powders, of course, and this has been the most consistent product for me. So that's what I will be using, and the brush size I'm using today is a number 8 brush. Because these nails are fairly short, I will be using a 1 to 2 ball method, but if you need to add any acrylic anywhere to the nail, please feel free to do so. There is no right or wrong way to do it. Just as long as you are not having to file too much at the end of your service, you should be good to go. The key to acrylic application is going to be to move the acrylic with the belly of your brush opposed to swiping the acrylic downward. You do not want to swipe because you are wasting product with that method. You just want to make sure that your acrylic ratio is even. That way you can mold and shape the nail. I'm just pushing that down with the belly of my brush. Now, the only time that I will actually swipe the acrylic away is when I'm working with my cuticle bead. And if I put too much acrylic, I will have to swipe away. That way the nail is not too thick and bulky and we can get a clean, even tapered nail. Now on this nail, I will need to use quite a few beads. The thumb is pretty flat, so I am going to have to build a nice apex and foundation to make sure that this nail looks like the other nails. I want to have a clean acrylic foundation, but I definitely still want to have a nice apex. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. It is growing and I will be doing a giveaway at the 10,000 sub mark. So make sure you do that. Give this video a thumbs up and follow me on Instagram at BeccaB_. Again, my name is Rebecca and I hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.